Hey you! Yeah, you want to hear about the best fighters in the world, exciting finishes and top level skills? Then take a seat, you are at the right place. What's up fighting fans? Tips from the Fight IQ channel. Today we're coming back to our weekly format, the Fight IQ show. Concept is simple, we'll start by ranking the top 5 fights that happened last weekend and tell you why you shouldn't have missed them. To make this ranking, I base my opinion on these criteria: the excitement, the duration of the fight, your position level and the way to finish the fight. After that, I'll be picking the top 5 fights to watch next weekend. So you ready? You sure? Alright, I warned you, let's go! So this week we had the One Friday Fights 36, One Fight Night 15, UFC Fight Night, LFA 169, Glory 89 and the Wood vs Warrington boxing fight. Let's go for my top 5. Number 5, Alexander Hernandez vs Billy Algeo. It was during the UFC Fight Night. What I liked about this fight is that from the beginning Hernandez put pressure. He was looking for the heavy shots, but doing short combos, 2 or 3 strikes maximum, and also sending heavy kicks. Algeo was more fighting from the outside, moving around, really loose and relaxed. He was making Hernandez miss and was always looking to counter. That was a fun fight. It was really technical and tactical. It's only the 5th fight on my list because of 2 eye pokes that broke the rhythm of the fight. Hernandez was poked 2 times in the eye and he had to stop a little bit, like one minute the first time and the second time a few seconds, but yeah, that was messing a bit with the rhythm. The key to that fight was that Algeo was scoring the most significant strikes. He also knocked down Hernandez 1 time. Clearly had the speed advantage and was always 1 step ahead of his opponent. So he got the win via unanimous decision, having now 2 back-to-back great performances inside the UFC. Number 4, Sergio Cosio vs JC Roberts. It was a fight in the prelims from the Bellator 300 and spoiler alert guys, this fight took a wild turn. There were 2 newcomers inside the Bellator organization. From the beginning of that fight, the plan was really clear for Roberts. It was going on the ground, controlling the fight and submit Cosio. But yeah, Cosio didn't make it easy for him to do that. He was defending really well. He was staying active from the bottom position, hitting his opponent with elbows, trying to cut open the face of Roberts. The second round was almost the same, but yeah, Cosio again didn't let his opponent do what he wanted, didn't let the guy submit him. Incredibly resilient. But here comes the 3rd round, and you see it coming. Here comes the reversal. Cosio starting really aggressive, pursuing Roberts in the cage, sending great shots, powerful shots as well. Amazing gas tank from Cosio guys. You have to imagine what it takes for a fighter being on the ground for 2 rounds defending his life and then going in the 3rd round pursuing his opponent with holy ass. Roberts tried again to go to the ground, but this time Cosio escaped. Then Roberts did a slow P takedown attempt and then Cosio locked a triangle choke from there and he finished the fight. So great heart from Cosio, great lesson. A fight is not over until it's over. So number 3, Patch vs David Mejia. It was the main event from Glory 89. It was for the featherweight championship. So this fight gave me the will to go back to watch Glory guys, because I have to say, ever since the emergence of one championship, the Glory level is not what it used to be. This one was a great main event, high level kickboxing. I will talk about this fight more globally and not round by round. In my opinion, Patch won most of the rounds, but always by a close margin. Mejia brought a great challenge to him. He was aggressive, he had good boxing combos, great leg kicks. He's also really powerful for the division in my opinion. But Patch was countering with great middle kicks from the left leg. He damaged Mejia a lot with it. You could see the marks on his body. That was crazy guys. There was a lot of activity in this fight. It was non-stop action. It just slowed a little bit in the last round, but yeah, with that much energy that the fighter gave, it's logical that it slowed down a little bit. In my opinion, Patch won because he was more accurate, sent the most accurate shots. There's even the stats to say it, even though Mejia threw more shots than him. But to be honest, I can't wait to see those 2 warriors fight again. Not necessarily against each other, but just to spice up a bit the division. It was a great fight. Number 2, Tawon Chai vs Joe Natawut. It was during the One Fight Night 15 and guys, I totally loved that fight. The pace was more of a Muay Thai fight than a kickboxing fight. They were taking turns at damaging each other. It was a great opposition. I loved what Smoking Joe brought to that fight. A lot of inside low kicks, good boxing combos, Tawon Chai answering with his famous middle kick from the left leg. In the second round though, Nata would put Tawanchai in a lot of trouble. I almost felt that he would knock him down. But Tawanchai came back really strong, sending the most accurate shots during the fight. It was a bit less intense in the third, still a lot of action, Smoking Joe being the less accurate but most active fighter. But Tawanchai was doing a lot of damage with the middle kicks. Tawanchai got the win. I think his accuracy made the difference, a bit like the fight between Patch and Mejia, to be honest. But it was a great fight from both fighters. Big shout out to Smoking Joe Natawood to accepting that fight on short notice and to bring that much of a challenge to one of the best, the most talented fighter in the whole world. Number 1, Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington. It was for the WBA featherweight title. As you know, I mentioned that fight in my preview. It was in my top 5, but it went really higher than my expectations. It was a great boxing fight. Wood was starting cautiously as usual, using his jab, using his range in order to control the fight. Warrington was more struggling in the first 2 rounds. It was difficult for him to find his own rhythm, to find his distance, but from the third round, Warrington was the most dangerous fighter. He was fighting at his own distance, his own range, his own rhythm. He was sending powerful shots to Lee Wood as well. Also, compliments to Warrington because he had a great head movement, also great guard, really close guard to avoid as much damage as possible. Really like that. Wood was sometimes in a lot of trouble with those close range shots, really powerful, getting him in the head and the body. But he always stayed in the fight and he was trying as much as possible to control the fight from distance with this great jab. And while Warrington seemed ahead of this fight, close to knock down Wood a few times, he got caught at the end of the 7th round and was knocked down. The bell rang, the end of the round, but then the referee decided that Warrington was in no condition to continue the fight. So he actually stopped the fight that ended then in a TKO for Wood. Wood retained his title the hard way, but I would expect a rematch for this one. As I saw on social media, both Warrington and Wood are agreeing on a rematch, saying that the referee should have given the benefit of the doubt to Warrington and leave him recover at the end of the 7th round. So to continue, but it was a great boxing fight. I think you should really watch that fight, guys. Also to mention this week, I think the Bellator 300 was a bit disappointing. The title fights in particular were not that good. Not a lot of suspense as well. The best fights were on the undercard, so Cosio versus Roberts, Corrales versus Kamaka, McMahon versus McCourt. But yeah, for example, the fights between Cyborg and Zingano was completely one way. Same for Nurmagomedov versus Primus. It went to the distance, but Nurmagomedov always was dominating. There's some good fight at the UFC Fight Night with a major upset with Bobby Green knocking out Grant Dawson, and good performance as well for Nathan Menes. I really like that fight as well. Good show for One Fight Night 15. Some of the fights almost entered my top 5, like Dibella versus Williams, Lee versus Freemanov. Lee versus Freemanov, for example, was too short and I decided to put fights that went longer. Also, One Friday Fights 36 had a lot of bangers, so if you love Muay Thai, go see that card. There were also some good fights at Glory 89, like I mentioned, the Patch versus Mejia, for example. Unfortunately, Badehari lost. I was a bit disappointed. I like Badehari and he really started the fight really good. Now he has a losing streak quite big, and yeah, I hope he's okay and that he will recover. Now the top 5 fights to watch next weekend. Number 5, Keyshawn Davis versus Nair Albright. It will be a boxing fight in the lightweight division. So Davis is one of the top new prospects in the boxing world. He is presented as the new Floyd Mayweather by his promoter. He is also showing a really clean record of 9 victories for 0 loss and 6 wins by way of knockout. Facing him will be Nair Albright. He's 16-2. He has 7 wins by way of knockout. To be clear, Albright is just supposed to be a step in Davis's way to the top of the division and to a championship belt, I suppose. But Albright He's 16-2, as I said. His experience is ranked number 28 in the world in the lightweight division. So let's not underestimate him. But why I want to watch that fight is because Keyshawn is really entertaining. He has very good fundamentals. He has a mean left hook. He's always putting pressure. So due to that pressure, I actually believe that he will knock his opponent out. Let's take a bet and let's say around the 8th round. But I think it will be a really good fight, good boxing fight. So let's keep an eye on it. Number 4, Andrei Petrovsky versus Michel Pereira in the main card of the UFC Fight Night. I think it's an interesting matchup. Petrovsky is still undefeated inside the UFC after getting a contract out of the Ultimate Fighter. He has 5 wins for 3 finishes. I'm still not really convinced about him. I think he's good, but he relies too much on his wrestling. So first tough test for him against Michel Pereira, who is a great and spectacular striker. New weight class for Pereira. He used to be a welterweight, but he had difficulty in the past to make the weight. So I think that's the reason for the new weight class. He's on a 5-fight win streak, but 4 of those fights went to the decision. Pereira used to be a bit crazy regarding the choice of his strikes, but he's now fighting smarter. So I think that's a good test for Petrovsky, good test for his gas tank that didn't look so good in his last fight, to be honest. So if I had to take a bet, I would give a slight edge to Michel Pereira on this one. I would even say that he will finish the fight in the 3rd round because I expect Petrovsky to run out of gas later in the fight. And Pereira showed that he has an amazing reserve of energy, so I'm going with Pereira on that one. Number 3, Sodiq Yusuff versus Edson Barboza. It will be the main event of the UFC Fight Night this weekend. So this one has a particular flavor for me. I'm a huge fan of Barboza's striking, and even getting older and having less success versus ranked fighters, he's still dangerous and able to finish opponents. His last fight was a win via KO against Billy Quarantillo last April. Yusuff has only 1 loss inside the UFC versus Arnold Allen, who is top contender in the featherweight division. But for the rest, he has 6 wins with 3 finishes. So Yusuff is clearly the favorite in that fight. He's younger, he's on his way to the top, but be careful as Barboza is kind of a gatekeeper in the featherweight division. It won't be easy, he can strike really hard. So I think Yusuff's game plan will be to go on the ground, to avoid the damages from Barboza and to negate his striking abilities, and I expect him to win via decision. I hope actually, because I don't want Barboza to be finished. Number 2, Jonathan Martinez versus Adrian Yanez. It will be in the main card of the UFC Fight Night. I'm really excited about that one. It's 2 complete martial artists that can be dangerous in every sector of the game. Martinez is on a 5-fight winning streak, including wins versus Said Nurmagomedov and Cub Swanson. Yanez wants to bounce back from his TKO loss against Rob Font, but before that he was 5-0 since getting his contract from the Dana White Contender Series, and 4 of those wins come by way of knockout, of technical knockout. So that will be a lot of fireworks in that fight. I expect mostly striking, as both fighters have a high KO ratio. I would risk myself and say that Yanez will bounce back from his loss and get the knockouts versus Jonathan Martinez. But don't blink guys, because it will be fast, it will be crazy. Number 1, Shanibek Alimakhanuli versus Vincenzo Gualtieri. That's for the WBO and IBF middleweight titles. That's another boxing match that gets me hyped up, guys. Shanibek is a really tough fighter, he's undefeated, 14 wins, 9 knockouts. He's really fast, he's fighting southpaw, he has a great jab, he has a mean uppercut from the left hand, he has powerful body shots, and his fight IQ is unbelievable. Facing him will be Vincenzo Il Capo Gualtieri, 21 win, no losses, 1 draw, 7 win by both knockouts. He's a heavy hitter, he uses his jab to keep his opponent at distance and setting up his right direct, which is really powerful. He fights orthodox, but he can switch from stances, sometime in order to set up a mean uppercut. That's gonna be a top level fight, and guys, somebody's got to go. I expect actually Janibek to get the win. I think he's superior, he has a better fighting IQ, and Gualtieri shows some flaws that can be fatal versus Janibek. I expect him to take advantage of those flaws. So I would say Janibek via KO. Also, to keep an eye on this weekend, there are 2 fights that I didn't put in my top 5, but I think they are worth to watch. It will be in the UFC Fight Night. It will be Jennifer Maia versus Vivian Araujo, and also Rodriguez versus Simon. Keep an eye on it, guys. Also, I have to mention it, I'm not a huge fan of those opposition, but KSI will fight Tommy Fury on October 14th. I still think it's not good for boxing because that's not what boxing looks like, and they are not real fighters. Wow, Tommy Fury is a professional fighter, but I don't think KSI can be defined as a professional fighter. Still, it will bring a lot of eyes. I expect Tommy Fury to win if it's not rigged. So that was it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If that's the case, please give a hard punch to that subscribe button to be aware of any new releases. Also, let me know in the comment what you felt about the crazy fights we had last weekend and what you expect for the coming matchups. That's not done already. Go check our latest Unplugged session with Franz Malombo, fighting for the PFL Europe finals in December. Go share his experience into the fighting world and give him some support because he deserves it. At the fights, I'll see you next week.